The first question has been asked by the Honorable J.S. Malema. The question is on the imposition of 30% duties of South African products by the President of the United States of America, Mr. DJ Trump, and the extent to which the government will react to these senseless tariffs and the impact that it expects to have on current and future diplomatic and trade relations with the United States. The Honorable the President, you are welcome and welcome to the podium to answer the question too.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and honorable members. In answering the question that is imposed, I'd like to say that like many other countries around the world, our own country is facing the prospect of significantly higher tariffs to the exports that we make to the United States. Our government is therefore in continued engagement with the United States to secure what we would term a mutually beneficial trade and investment deal. The Presidency and the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition have sent representatives who are currently in the United States, who are preparing for the further formal negotiations with the United States government, which should be taking place in just a few days. They are meeting a number of stakeholders as they are in both New York and Washington, including representatives of the administration, legislators, business people, and a whole number of other people. It should be known that many other countries are doing the same to secure agreements with the United States government. The US is South Africa's second largest trading partner as a country. Our economic relations are strong, and these relations go back many, many years. Trade between our two countries has historically been complementary in nature. We buy many goods and services from the United States, such as petroleum, aircraft and parts, medical instruments, soybeans, motor vehicles, poultry, and pharmaceuticals. South Africa exports to the United States include our minerals, our agricultural products, pharmaceuticals, motor vehicles, and medical isotopes. South Africa is the biggest investor from the African continent into the United States, with 22 of our companies investing in areas like mining, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and food chains. More than 600 United States companies operate in South Africa through various investments. To advance our negotiation position, our government submitted a mutually beneficial trade and investment package on the basis of negotiations with the United States. This builds on the previous package, which was submitted on 20th of May, in addition to the proposal put to the United States. Cabinet has also endorsed our own country's economic package to assist our businesses. This includes measures that we are putting in place to support South African businesses that are affected by the tariffs. Government has decided that in response to the United States position on tariffs, South Africa should take this as an opportunity to diversify our export market platform for increased resilience and to facilitate the entry into alternative markets for affected exporters. As part of measures to assist companies to absorb the effects of tariffs and facilitate what I would call long-term resilience, the Localization Support Fund has made a commitment to support affected companies. We have initiated an export and competitiveness support program that will include working capital, plant and equipment facilities to address short to medium-term needs across all industries of those who are exporters. Working with industry, we are accelerating efforts to diversify export markets and enhance competitiveness to mitigate the economic impact of losing preferential trade access. A crucial part of this work is to make full use of the opportunities that are presented by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We're also looking at better using the buying power of local consumers, of businesses, and government to support local producers. South Africa is responding to the imposition of these tariffs by the United States by intensifying its own engagement with the US administration. We're working to stabilize diplomatic relations, and we are introducing a range of measures to make South African companies more resilient. We do believe that this is the best course we should take, and in a way it is double-pronged. We negotiate with the United States, but at the same time, we encourage our companies to use this as an opportunity to start seeking out other markets. And to enhance this, we're involved in various visits to other countries, trade missions, if you like. President, the deputy president, and ministers are scouring the world, going from place to place, country to country, seeking to open channels and markets for our South African products. Some areas we have not really fully exploited in the past, but we have now started doing so. A case in point, for instance, is Latin America. We have not, beyond just Brazil, gone full force into Latin America, and they are interested in dealing with us. Asia is also a huge market that is waiting. So is the Middle East. So this gives us a great opportunity to open up new markets, an opportunity that we are exploiting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll now ask for supplementary question from Honorable J.S. Malema, who's on virtual platform.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Mr. President, following Trump's tariffs on the country, our approach has been that of appeasement and almost tantamount to begging. You created an impression of us crawling on the floor and begging and cementing our place as a very junior partner to the US. You have juniorized this country and it has lost its status globally. We do this while countries such as China, Canada, and the EU announced retaliatory tariffs against the US. I know that we import finished products from US while we largely export our raw materials such as platinum, gold, and raw aluminium, all of which are central to the US economy. Instead of appeasing the maniac, why have we not stood firm and imposed own retaliatory tariffs against Trump while looking to open up trade with our BRICS partners and the rest of the countries of the global south? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable President.
Thank you. Should I go? Thank you.
Yes, President, you can go on.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes, there are various options that countries can elect to respond to the unfair tariffs that have been leveled against, I would say, the world. A number of countries have sought to engage in negotiations with the US government. And some of those have been fairly large economies that are currently in negotiations with the United States. And we have chosen the route of engaging the United States. They said that they have a deficit, but we argue that they don't have a deficit, and that requires that we should actually sit down and negotiate these issues. And in sitting down, we've come to the conclusion that we will find good answers to be able to take matters forward. And let me say, our response has also been informed by engagement with our own private sector. Our own private sector as exporters, as well as importers, have been very much involved in crafting the response that we have offered to the United States, including the trade union movement. And it's all very well to say what we should have done is to retaliate. And in retaliation, you've got to be absolutely clear whether you will be able to achieve precisely what you need to achieve. We believe that we are on the right course, a course that should end up with a mutually beneficial outcome. The United States is our second largest trading partners, accounting for hundreds of thousands of workers who are employed here. The 600 US companies that are doing business in South Africa employ many people. And it is the interests of these many people that we as a government have to take care of before we engage in a war that may not yield the results that we want. So if one wants to play to the gallery, one could embark on the type of option that Honorable Malema is talking about without knowing what outcome that option will have. Our option is informed by what we want to gain. And what we want to gain is to continue exporting to the United States as much as possible and to enable our companies also to invest in the United States, but to also get United States companies to invest in us. And we do have leverage. And our leverage has to do with, yes, the natural resources that we have, the minerals that we have, which the United States needs. The discussions that we are having now with the United States also revolve around that. The critical minerals that South Africa has and the capacity that we have to process those minerals with the energy backing that we have, which many other countries don't have, is something that we take to the table and use as leverage. So I'd like to say that it is a strategy that we have opted for, and a strategy of engagement, and a strategy which we believe will yield results, notwithstanding the fact that we are obviously dealing with a United States administration that at times is unpredictable and that at times just retaliates. And without being supplicants, without, going on bended knee, which we have never done and which we will never do. And we have said we will not be bullied. We will stand as a sovereign country and negotiate and get the best deal for South Africa. That's precisely what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Eso Ramaphosa.
Thank you very much, President, and we appreciate the extent to which strategic engagements are taking place with the U.S. on these tariffs. Now, the U.S. on its own, President, realizing that its trumpets of the tariffs are inflicting pain on them, they volunteered exclusion of some of the critical minerals from the initial list, which is an advantage for South Africa. So I want to check how, as South Africa, we can continue to deepen their own realization on the strategic tactical advantage that we have. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes. The issue, as I said earlier, of the strength and the endowments that we have, which is critical minerals, is a matter that is firmly on the table as we are having these engagements now with the United States. And we have been, yes, exporting these to them on a tariff-free basis, whilst they had offered us a tariff-free entry through the AGOA offering or process. So therefore, in order to gain the advantage that we need for our own country, we are utilizing precisely this aspect of what they need most. In the end, we are saying we need to balance the books. What do they need most from us is what we put on the table for them to consider. And what do we need most from them? And in balancing these two issues, we then believe that we will be able to come up with a fairly well-balanced negotiation that goes beyond just what they are focusing on, imposition of a 30% tariff regime on us. We go to the United States negotiating table with a strong hand. We don't go with a weak hand. And our endowments, as you correctly say, is exactly what we take to the table. And the ability on our part to have those products processed here. But we obviously, in doing so, want to take it a step further. And we want to be able, and that's what we are insisting on, that even as we may well want to export critical minerals, we want them to leave the shores of South Africa as finished products so that we beneficiate what we will finally sell to them. So that is the type of discussion that we are having with them, a proper engagement of two sovereign powers that are engaging for a fair deal outcome. And that is how we are proceeding with this now. Our people who are in the United States now are fully fired up with this type of approach, and the Minister of Trade and Industry and International Relations will be joining them, and they will be advancing those discussions. We are on the ground, and we are working the ground in the United States as we speak now. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, President. Mr. R. Smith.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Mr. President, as this question so rightly points out, a full spectrum of government responses is required to negotiate the best possible deal for South Africa in light of the USA's imposition of a 30% tariff on South African imports. Part of this response, which is your sole responsibility, is the appointment of a capable ambassador to represent our interests in Washington, D.C. Can you confirm to this House that South Africa's ambassador nominee to the United States of America will be a capable, skilled, and non-partial career diplomat and not another party political deployee?
Honorable President.
Yes. The appointment of South Africa's ambassador to the United States, which is soon to be finalized and made public, will be a person who is capable, a person who is sufficiently well experienced and sufficiently well versed in world views and world politics, and who knows the American market extremely well. That is the type of person that we are going to appoint. It's interesting that they themselves have over some time been mulling over who to deploy to South Africa. And indeed, we found that countries in these days, because the geopolitical situation has changed so much, are scratching their heads so much to find the most suitable people that they can deploy in various markets, and to get people with the necessary skills and know-how and experience and worldview. And that is the type of person that we are going to deploy to the United States as ambassador, as we also await them to bring their own, and as we also will be deploying a number of others to other markets and locales. So the answer to your question is yes, we will be appointing a well-versed and a well-rounded person who has the necessary skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm smiling. I saw members listening attentively, and I was wondering whether there may be some application here for such a position. Thank you very much, Mr. President. We'll now ask.
Madam Speaker, I must tell you that there have been a lot of applications, and some of them have come from this House.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Our last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Maimane.
Thank you and good afternoon, Mr. President. All of us as South Africans observed your meeting in Washington and can fully appreciate the fact that we are now in the realm where domestic policy impacts foreign policy. A general goes off to Iran and makes some significant statements on foreign policy. That general has had a global implication on the US relation with those who it does not deem its allies, of which Iran is one. I want to ask, Mr. President, if you could bring the nation into confidence as to, in the light of all of these tariffs and our low GDP growth from today, whether does South Africa in fact have military cooperations with Iran? No sanction was taken against the general who has spoken. And ultimately, are you of the view that our close relations with Iran have had any impact on our tariff impositions by the US and what your government's plan to respond to that issue? Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We do not have any military operations with Iran. Iran is one of the members of the BRICS. In fact, we held a BRICS summit yesterday online, and Iran was present, as were other countries like China, India, Ethiopia, Egypt, Brazil, and all others. So we are together members of BRICS, and in dealing with Iran, we deal with them also as a sovereign country that is dealing with the various issues and challenges as it is doing, like ourselves. And the general went to Iran on a determined visit, which was planned almost 2 years ago. And I had a long discussion with him, and we both agreed that the timing could have been managed differently. And he conceded that because of what is happening globally. And that in itself demonstrated to me, as he himself conceded, that the timing could have been different, and that what he said in Iran really was an expression of the continued relations that have existed between our two countries. And in the end, the relations we have no impact whatsoever, and should have no impact with our relations with other countries. And we respect and deeply respect the relations that other countries have with whoever in the world. And similarly, we say the same should obtain with us. There was a time when we were lambasted for even having any relationship with Russia, as it was involved in a war with Iran. And now of late, Honorable Maimani, nearly everyone comes to us and says, could you kindly impart a message to President Putin? And these are largely countries that had decided to shun Russia, to boycott Russia, and never want to have any discussions with them. And we've often said, do continue engaging with Russia. I remember very well when I went to the White House and met President Biden. And I said, do not disengage from talking to Russia, even as there is a conflict. And he said, can you please pass on a message to Russia, because you have historically had a relationship with Russia, because he said himself, we know that Russia was one of the only countries that supported your struggle as you were involved in a gigantic struggle against apartheid. I said, yes, they did support us, and we've continued to engage with them. And our engagement with them does not result in the abandonment of our own principles. We have principled, and they deal with us with great respect, with great honor, knowing very well that we are a sovereign state and we will not abandon our principles whatsoever. And now, many of them are then calling us and saying, can you please pass on this message to President Putin about the Ukrainian war so that we can find settlement? And this is done by nearly all of them. And these are countries that criticized South Africa very harshly when the Ukraine-Russia war started. Now of late, they become converts. They now come to us and ask us to pass on messages and to see how best we can work for peace. Now, the position we've always had is that we, in pursuing peaceful outcomes, will talk to all parties. We will talk to those who are belligerents in any conflict, and we will adhere to our principles, and our principles are to make peace, to make sure that there is peace in the world and all conflicts are resolved peacefully. So our standing as a country has been greatly enhanced, much as others say our standing has been dashed. It has actually been greatly enhanced, as many countries want to talk to us and see how best we can get involved in settling the variety of conflicts around the world. So the Iranian case is a case in point, and we've been very clear in our dealings that they are principled, and we will always adhere to our own principles and values and never abandon those. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President.